Today we're talking about another amazing game, Final Fight, the legendary beat 'em up from Capcom. I used to actually own the arcade board, but it crapped out on me, so I had to get rid of it. Luckily, Capcom put this disc out, and the port of Final Fight on the Capcom Classics Collection for PlayStation 2 is actually really good. It's almost arcade perfect, so there's no real reason why anybody would have to own the actual arcade board. I don't need the arcade board. If anybody wants to give me a deal on a Final Fight arcade board, hit me up. Let's get started. I think without a doubt, Final Fight is one of the coolest arcade games ever made, and it also helped to usher in the beat 'em up genre. It's a classic, and if you clicked on this video, you probably already know that. The graphics are great, the animations are great, the gameplay is fun and satisfying because of the bone-crushing sound effects. In Final Fight, you move around with a joystick and use two buttons to beat the shit out of people. But what else is going on here in Final Fight, the legendary beat-em-up arcade smash hit by the non-stop hit-producing machine known as Capcom? Well, at least back in the day, they made hit after hit. If you know anything about Capcom, you know they took their video games very seriously in the 80s and into the 90s. That's why they were really successful in making these games. Capcom actually changed the entire industry with games like Final Fight and Street Fighter. Well, let's take a closer look at Final Fight, because you don't need a YouTube video to tell you that it's good. You probably already know that shit. Let's explore something else, perhaps instead of saying the same shit over and over again about Final Fight. Final Fight, first and foremost, is just an amazing game that's really fun to play. But I'm going to tell you right up front where I'm going with this video. I think Final Fight is Capcom's critique of America. Yeah, we're going there. Bear with me and hear me out before you tell me that I'm wrong. Let's focus for a second on Mike Haggar. Mike Haggar is the mayor of Metro City, and he's a playable character in this violent beat-em-up. I can't think of any other single game where you play as an elected official, except maybe a Xbox game. I think you played as the president or some shit, but never mind. If anything, usually we're rescuing the elected officials in these games, right? I think it's an interesting choice the developers made, to make one of the playable characters the mayor of the city. That's not just an accident. Somebody made that conscious decision for a reason. Mike Haggar could have easily just been a retired Street Fighter, but no, somebody said he's also the mayor of Metro City. And that's not because everybody thinks mayors are fucking cool, okay? And by the way, could you imagine that shit? How badass would it be if the mayor of your fucking city was out in the middle of the street with a big ass metal pipe beating the shit out of some badass punker gang? He'd have my fucking vote. Especially with that dope-ass mustache. If Final Fight was made today by Americans, Mike Haggar would probably just be tweeting pictures of his dick all over the place. But this is a Japanese game made in the late 80s, so keep that in mind. During the intro of the game, we learned some things. 1, Haggar's daughter, Jessica, has been kidnapped. 2, the mayor, before Haggar, was corrupt and was taking money from the villains. And 3, Haggar doesn't play ball with these punkolas. Haggar is standing up against corruption, and that's why his daughter was kidnapped. Again, he could have just been a rich retired wrestler or a Street Fighter or something whose daughter was kidnapped for ransom. But it clearly says in the fucking game intro that his daughter was kidnapped because he wasn't corrupt like his predecessor, meaning the mayor before him was in cahoots with the Mad Gear Gang. Cahoots. Cahoots. I really like that word, cahoots. I love saying it, cahoots. What a great fucking word, right? Cahoots. Anyway, the central theme here is corruption. I'm not making that up. It's fucking right there in the intro before you even put a quarter in the goddamn thing. And I think that's kind of interesting and worthy of note. So the mayor of Metro City heads off into the streets to fuck some shit up. You might ask yourself, why doesn't he just call the police? Because guess what? The cops are in on it. Yeah, the cops are corrupt too. Remember the third stage boss? Not so fucking subtle, is it? This couldn't possibly be a statement about corruption. That's just fucking silly. There's a certain kind of progression throughout the game that's really interesting. So in Final Fight, you start off here in the slums, and you beat ass all through the streets and the bars and the fucking subways, and about the bars, by the way. How fucking hardcore is this city when a bunch of dudes killing each other with knives and pipes doesn't even get the attention of these people at the fucking bar? You know that shit is bad when this mayhem is so run-of-the-mill that it doesn't even get these people's attention. They're like, yeah, whatever, another Shirley Temple, please. So anyway, as you play through this old-school gem of video game violence, you might begin to notice that you're actually fighting your way out of the gutter. And by the way, if anybody doubts Metro City is supposed to be an American city and Capcom was painting a critical picture of America, there's the Statue of Liberty apparently pissing on the sun, so good luck debunking that shit. Now all of a sudden we're in some trippy skyscraper mansion where the super expensive chandeliers are even trying to fucking kill you. How's that for some poetry? And we're ascending to the top. What we find at the top is the villain, the leader of the Mad Gear Gang who really runs Metro City. The villain is the super rich, living in his ivory tower above the filthy peasantry. The fucking 1%, dude, and he's running the show. Think about that shit. Big money is running the fucking city. And what's up with the stained glass windows in the background? It's like some kind of weird Illuminati chapel or some shit. Turns out his wheelchair is subterfuge and he doesn't even need it. Just like they do, man. Just like they fucking do. You gotta punch his ass out the window, like right fucking now. Fuck your New World Order, man. I think it's pretty apparent that the folks over at Capcom saw America as an ultra-violent cesspool of corruption where the ultra-rich crime lords rule from the shadows with complete impunity. And seriously, were they wrong? I'm not saying that Final Fight was made specifically to be a statement about corruption in America. What I am saying, though, is that it's definitely an element here. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, let's talk about some of the other playable characters for a second, because I want to say something about these people, too. Cody is Jessica's boyfriend, so he's here to rescue her. The hero rescuing his girlfriend is your run-of-the-mill 80s and 90s action flick video game story shit that we all love. And Cody's pretty badass with his blue jeans and his white t-shirt and greaser hair. But what's the story with Guy? Jessica is neither Guy's family nor his girlfriend. He doesn't even secretly love Jessica or any of that shit. Guy is here just because he wants to fuck shit up. That's it. Guy is such a bad motherfucker that he's just along for the ride because he knows there's gonna be a fight and he wants in on the action. That's a hard-ass motherfucker right there. Sure, he says that Jessica's his friend and he's gonna go help out. But no, I don't buy that shit. I think Guy is there just because he wants a fight. A final fight. Final Fight is probably my personal favorite arcade game of all time. I know that's a bold statement, but I have many favorites. This one is just my personal favorite of all time. I love everything about it, the art style, the music, the simplicity of the gameplay, the pessimistic outlook of the world we live in, and the fact that the street gang we're fighting is called the Mad Gear Gang. In fact, I'm actually going to join the Mad Gear Gang right after I finish this video. The villains in Final Fight are basically a fucking punker street gang. That's fucking badass, dude. And check out this kick right here. Pow, bitch! And check out how cool this continue screen is. That is one of the coolest continue screens of all time. It's a blast to play this game, especially with 2 players. I love how we're given a map at the beginning and the end of each stage so we can track our movement through the city. That combined with knowing that this psycho is the mayor helps to make Metro City seem like a real place that actually exists within some sort of badass Capcom universe. The backgrounds and character sprites ooze with personality. Some folks over at Capcom wanted Final Fight to be better than any of the other shit at the arcade at the time. They put a lot of thought and time into achieving that. If you absolutely love beat 'em ups, you've probably already played this game, but if you haven't, you fucking must. It's every bit as good and interesting as Alien vs. Predator or Cadillacs and Dinosaurs or the Ninja Turtle games and the Marvel licensed stuff that also hit the arcades at about the same time. If you ever find a cabinet with a working Final Fight board in it, it is totally worth $5 and about 35 minutes of your time.